Okay, well, welcome everybody. My name is Ben Thompson. I represent Cumberland County Regional Assessing. I'm here to do a small presentation on the upcoming reval and to hopefully answer your questions like a little bit later on. So it's time for a property revaluation. Town of Baldwin plans to conduct a full revaluation of all real property townwide. Inspections are scheduled to begin in September, right after Labor Day, 2019, in preparation for the 2020 tax commitment. What is a revaluation? Revaluation is the relisting through identification and reappraisal of property according to just value for tax assessment purposes when the prior year or years or original assessment is too faulty for correction through the usual procedures of review and equalization that happen on a yearly basis. Why do we want to perform a revaluation? Foremost is equitable distribution of the tax burden. It's actually in the state constitution that the burden of taxation needs to be distributed fairly across the board for all taxpayers. Second is to identify and update assessments of all types of properties and to comply with state statutes. Maine property assessment laws and guidelines. Maine State Constitution, Article 9, Section 8, says that all taxes upon real and personal estate assessed by authority of this state shall be apportioned and assessed equally according to the just value thereof. The courts have determined that the just value is as close to fair market value. They basically are synonymous. Maine Revised Statutes, Title 36, 327, put forward minimum assessing standards. Minimum assessment ratio. A municipality shall have 70% minimum assessment ratio and should not have an assessment ratio at an amount greater than 110% of its just value. Right now, for this upcoming commitment, the town of Baldwin is going to be certifying everything at 103%. We were 105 last year. Maximum rating of assessment. A municipality shall have a quality rating no higher than 20. Right now, these aren't the issues that Baldwin faces as much as we don't really know or have a fair idea of what's out there. So right now, it's going to be trying to make sure we have accurate records for the assessment.
What's a quality rating?
Quality rating is basically the difference of some properties may be further away from the average than others. It's a rate of dispersion. There's some mathematics that go into it. I haven't been able to run those numbers because we don't have anything behind us that I can rely on at this point in time. So just to go through a few quick myths, revaluation assessment myths. Myth number one, the assessor's office determines property taxes. This is not true. The assessor's office only determines a property's assessed value. The budget dictates the total amount of taxes needed to be raised. The amount required is divided by the total taxable assessed value of the town. The formula is the tax rate equals the assessed value times the mill rate. Myth number two, revaluation will cause my taxes to increase. Your taxes may increase if we find additional things that we didn't know were there. Your taxes may decrease or they may stay the same. An increased assessment does not mean that taxes automatically increase. The more assessment identified townwide, provided that the budget stayed the same, so we're comparing apples to apples, the more the burden is spread out, could technically mean a lower tax bill. Even if everybody went up a little bit, if you went up below the average went up, you would either stay the same or possibly even be lower than what you're paying now. Myth number three, taxes are high because of the assessment. Taxes are not the same as property assessment. Taxes are levied based on the town's needs for an annual budget, just reiterating some of the same key points. Tax rate equals the assessed value times the mill rate. Assessments are based on an equitable market value.
When was the last time an assessment took place?
A reval?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna throw that one to Dwight, I already told him
I'll
that.
tell you right now. We did one in 1970, did one in 1990, did a partial in 2003, the last full one was 2010.
Myth number 4, proposed property values cannot be appealed. You may appeal the new value assigned to your property should you disagree. As I'll go through here in just a little bit, there is a procedure set forth for informal hearings before the tax commitment. So you can challenge the proposed tax assessment that the reval produces. It may get changed then. If for some reason somebody didn't catch up on those informal hearings, you do also have the abatement filings within 185 days after the commitment. If you guys have questions, absolutely just jump in. So right now, here's the projected timeline. September 2019, inspections are scheduled to begin. Basically what's going to happen there is shortly, you guys should be getting a letter, a mass mailing sent out by the people that we've subcontracted to. They're going to hit mass mailing to every resident in town, identifying a plan of action. So whether that plan of action may be tax map 1 this week, or these 2 weeks, tax map 2 will be this time period. So everybody, if you fall within that tax map, you'll know roughly when you should expect inspectors on your property. So that process will go until, right now, proposed February 2020. I'm sure depending on snow and things like that. But they're scheduled to finish the initial inspections and data collection. During that time period, make it very clear that every taxpayer has the right to refuse entry onto their property or even into their house. So if you don't want the inspectors there, or, I believe they should come to the door, they'll knock on the door, identify themselves, the cars should have magnets on the cars, they should have badges on their shirt or coat, something identifying them from KRT appraisal. And if you don't want them on the property, just politely tell them and they will leave. The risk with that is that then they will have to make an educated guess on the assessment, because you'll still be assessed. But it shouldn't be too bad of a process. The other side, the flip side of that is, you roughly will know when they're coming. I don't know if they're going to actually say, hey, I'm going to be at Bob's house on this day at this time, but if you know they're coming, and it should only take maybe 10, 15 minutes to do a quick walkthrough, depending on how big of a house you have and whatnot. And
is it just an external, or they come into the house?
come into the house if you allow us to. Yep.
Are these people bonded? Have they had a criminal background check, fingerprint?
Yes. Yep.
No,
That's a good question.
Serious question. I want to know who the bozo is.
Yeah, it's a good question. And what I'll do is I'm going to show you in a little bit too that we've already established a link on the website down through county.
Yeah.
So if you go on the town's website, hit assessing, it's going to jump you down to us anyway. And I already have a menu on there for 2020 reval. And on that, in that menu, in that little blurb about the reval, you can actually click the link to go straight to KRT and see all the photos of everybody that should be coming on the property. They work very closely with the sheriff's department as well, because for their own protection, the other flip side of that, whose house are they going to, type of thing. So,
There you go.
there you go. Okay. So, yeah, did anybody have any questions on, any more questions on the internal inspections or how that works before I move on?
What sort of things are they looking for?
Yeah, basically, so you're gonna go through, what we do is we mark down what's on the flooring, the type of build, how it's constructed. There's certain elements that go towards grading. Hardwood floor is obviously higher than laminate flooring, higher than carpet or linoleum, those types of things. That one quality by itself doesn't necessarily jump the grade of your house, but it does contribute. Up here, you're probably not going to run into, we do Falmouth and Yarmouth and different things like that as well, so we're seeing crown molding and we're seeing all kinds of, custom ceilings and things like that. All those things that are bettering your house, your property, will be captured just to grade the property. because of all those things will be factors when you go to sell. You know, basically they affect the selling price. That's what they're looking at. So they'll start right down. They should usually, depends, if I walk in a house, I'm doing an inspection, and if you're right there at the door. We do a lot of new construction too, so if nobody's there, just the contractors let you go through, go whatever you do whatever you gotta do. So typically, we'll start down the basement and work our way up through. But if you're home and I come in your house, then I feel out of respect to you, it's you to get to know me and trust me. You know, I'm gonna walk with you right through your first floor, and then I always ask permission, may I go down and see the basement, that kind of thing. Typically, you would start down there and work your way up, but I want you to be comfortable with me in your house. Follow me around, lead the way, you know, whatever way, or don't, whatever. And then I'll go down through and do the rest of the house.
So do you assess like age of plumbing and electrical condition and
Yeah,
everything that
that'll
goes
all be
along
looked
with
at,
that?
yeah. I don't know if they'll necessarily drive a value, you know, whether it's 100 amp or 200 amp, but we should be capturing a lot of that stuff, just for information purposes, yeah. Because the other side of the appraisers, real estate appraisers, that work for the lending institutions,
Right.
Real estate licensees, they all tend to use the information that we have in the assessment cards and database. We're always getting phone calls. So the more information we have, you know, I think it helps to contribute to everybody's job.
Sure, and the
Make it a
difference
little easier.
between being in Falmouth and being in Baldwin.
I'm sorry?
The difference between being in Falmouth and being in Baldwin.
Yeah.
Location in the state and
Yeah.
population density and all that.
Yeah. So, did I miss your question? I mean,
No, I was
just
just sort of fishing around to find out what the structure looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then the value, of course, is going to be based on area sales, you know, and I'm going to take sales out of Falmouth or Yarmouth.
Right.
To grade yours up here, so, yeah. Okay, so then, by March, they're looking at callback appointments as needed. So that would be people that, they weren't home, they tried to get inside and just nobody was home. So part of that is gonna be, they'll start coming by, it should be getting a little bit later by March, I guess, but try to come by in the evenings when people are home, make those appointments if they can. They'll send letters out to try to get access and a response back. They'll swing by on the weekends, is what I've been told, you know, when people are actually maybe home, because we do understand that this is a veteran community up here.
Right.
Yep. Also, in that March time period will be, any no trespassing signs. Any places that are posted no trespassing, KRT will not even attempt to go on
Okay.
site without sending a letter first and then that requesting permission to come on. If, anybody hears anything otherwise, then definitely let your select board know, and they will let me know, and we'll take care of it. Okay, so the other side of March, during that time period, they're gonna break up the, field reviews, going out and checking recent sales and making sure that, verifying why did this place sell. There's a lot of factors that we look at when a house sells. You know, was it a sale between family members? Sometimes that can mean it's lower, sometimes they don't like each other, it can mean it's higher, you know. Could be, other indicators, I mean, CMP might have come through, or VOT came through, and there's a sale there, but you know, I held on to my property, and if you want it, you can, pay me a lot of money for it.
Right.
So we're gonna look at those sales and qualify them. So that's part of what they will do, before they start building their tables. In April 2020, developing of the pricing schedules, and that's where they'll start developing certain grades, you know, an average, a below average, an average plus home. If there are any, goods, I mean, I don't know if there would be any up here in Baldwin per se that we would label a good. To me, there's very few excellents out there in the world. You're talking Kennebunk, Fort, you know, type, maybe Yarmouth, you know, type, there's excellents out there, but I don't think we'll find those up here. So, yeah, so. I knew it was gonna happen. Double click. All right, so.
While you're transitioning, Mel,
Yep.
are they looking at anything else besides just the house?
All structures, any improvements on the property,
Right.
outbuildings. Yeah, we're gonna look at whether there's fireplaces, solar panels, all that will be captured.
Personal property as well?
They are not gonna be doing personal property.
Okay.
They're not been hired to do, they're just doing real property. However, we are gonna do a stronger effort, next spring to come through and do a better job on personal property, identification and what's out there, but also on education. You know, I here in Baldwin, personally myself. And, we try to make that effort when somebody qualifies for programs, the exemption programs, things like that. Reach out to them, even though, okay, you're supposed to get your paperwork in by April 15th, whatever. As long as I haven't processed the commitment yet, you know, I'm gonna reach out to you and say, hey, you know, I haven't got your filing, you know, you filed last year, this, that. If they don't respond, at this point in the game, I'm giving them, I need it by tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, you know, or I need it by noontime Thursday, depends how big it is. If they're not responding to those, then you're out of luck. But I will also go forward and say, hey, you know, some of your equipment qualifies for Betty, Business Equipment Tax Exemption Program. Here's the form, you know, several actually responded to this. I think there should be one here tonight, actually, they were supposed to drop it off. So, you know, that helps them. That's good customer service to the people in town. And part of that as well, some of the people, you know, you have, elderly that may be semi-retired, you know, and the form's confusing sometimes. So I had one situation here where I actually walked them right through it, sent it to them, and you sign it, send it back to me, you know, basically almost filled it out for them based on the conversation we were having, and just signed it. I mean, they did, got it back to me, so it was good, it worked out well. Yes, sir.
This might be more of a question to the selectmen, but is there a connection between the personal property tax and conditional use permit? So if I had a conditional use permit and had personal property that had a tax paid on it, and I shut the business down, the way to get rid of the tax is to come in and say, I don't want the conditional use permit anymore. There doesn't seem to be a process for that, but I wondered.
I don't know exactly what your conditional use covers, if it's for opening a new business up here. Is that what is it what it was for, or I don't know exactly.
For an existing business that does pay personal property tax.
Yeah. So I mean, if you, I guess what I'll answer and understand out of your question is that if you have closed the business, just call our office, and let us know.
Call your office. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be the quickest way to make sure that we don't come after or anything. An assessment, you know, estimated assessment on that. Okay, so if you're all good with this, I'm gonna leave it right on this. Can you see it all right? A little smaller, or do you want me to go back to the slideshow?
I can see it.
It's fine.
Okay. All right, go for it. Okay, so back to your April 2020 cost modeling and updating the tables. They're creating those from recent sales in the area that are qualified arm's length transactions. April, May 2020, they'll go back out and do field reviews and final valuations. So typically, my experience in Reval, you know, we'll go out and do the initial data collection while someone is back in the office and crunching numbers. We're still out there following up on, you know, if you're on the field, you're following up on, hey, Dwight, I wasn't able to come into your house, you're gonna let me come in, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You do those follow-ups, but at some point, you're done. You know, you've hit every place that you can hit, and so you go right back out again, and you do a full drive-through. You have every card, you know, in that map, for example, sitting in your car, and you're gonna go back through, and I'm gonna stay right in my car, and I'm gonna say, okay, did we miss anything? You know, I'm not gonna come knock on your door, I'm not gonna worry about disturbing anybody, but no new deck, you know, everything looks good. Or you sit there and go, wait a minute, I didn't know that deck was there, you know, so then you pick up something that you might have missed. So it's one last check, one last final review. June 2020, the assessor's agent valuation review, so KRT will then present to our office down there and go over their findings. Basically, we'll talk about whatever they found. I'll present up here to the board as well, and review everything as far as the numbers and how that was set up with them. The board is still your assessors in town. Mid-June 2020, impact notices will be mailed. So this will be your second mass mailing across the whole town. Everybody should get a letter. These are your impact notices. Your new value is this on your land, this on your building. May very well even be a property card that might come out, so you can actually, my guess is that's what I would do. That way you can check everything. Well, I don't have that shit anymore, so you come in and say, hey, that's not accurate anymore. So people can actually come in July 2020, you have the informal hearing. So if you see something in the impact notice that, again, that you don't like, you don't agree with, or I just don't know how you got there, I need an explanation, there's gonna be a number on that letter to call, members of KRT. I'm gonna try to be able to, hoping to bring myself up a little bit and sit up here as well. Sit in on those informal hearings. Depending on how many people call, will be how many days they set up the hearing time period. So, if somebody drags your feet, you may miss that window. If that window is missed, again, you have the abatement period after the commitment's done. So you have 185 days after commitment that you can file for an abatement. So any adjustments will be made as needed, and then mid-July, project is complete, and the data will be handed over to my office. Of course, we've reviewed it, board's reviewed it, everything's a go, and we commit taxes.
Just a question about the assessment process again. Are you folks gonna be talking to owners about land that they own? I ask this because we had a lot of people who were paying taxes on their neighbor's property.
We've got a lot of issues involved, yes.
Yeah, we do, and I'm just wondering if this is the chance to clean that up.
Some of it, our office has gone through, more than we ever expected to, trying to clean some of that up. We're requesting that anybody that has, surveys, let us know. Typically, we'd like to see those recorded, but right now, anything would be helpful. There is, I've mentioned it before, there is a file right now, it's about that thick, it's coming back to you guys. That it's above us, it's beyond what we can do, we don't have the time to even process through, but you need to hire a title abstractor to go through and try to dig back and find out what these records, what they are. Some of them that we've done, we've gone back in the 1800s trying to figure out where lot lines are. It's just time consuming, very time consuming. Yeah. So I don't think that everything will be cleaned up.
Do you assess town-owned property?
Yeah, there should be a value put on it.
Okay,
Yeah, but it would be exempt.
yeah, the reason I said that in 2010, I bought a piece of land that's town-owned.
Yeah.
And then when I got the tax bill, it showed a house on it. There wasn't a house on it.
Okay, yeah, so it should be updated, yeah, sure.
Well, we've updated it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I presume the last time they didn't do that, or they skipped that one for some reason.
Maybe, I don't know.
But I think it's nice to know what
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
values of the town owns.
Absolutely, yes. I know for, 2 years ago, in Falmouth, I measured all the school buildings over there myself. Good thing I had a couple 300-foot tape measures, but yeah, because for insurance purposes, things like that, Council members, the select board want to know. Yes.
Is land just appraised by the acreage, or is there a difference between huckabrush and a productive orange grove?
It should be, if it's a ravine and it's wetlands and things, all that should be, topography issues should be taken into consideration. Right now, it's.
Do you do feet on the ground for that? How does that get into your data?
No, basically what they'll be hitting would be any improved properties, so the houses and things like that. They will revalue the land. If there's an issue there that hasn't already been addressed by previous assessors and already on the property card, then we're more than happy to come up and look at it.
One of the things that happened, the state widened our shoreline zone. It used to be 75 feet from the edge. Now it's 100. Well, if you own much frontage on what the state considers a water body, you've essentially lost a lot of the use of your land. Now it's kind of like a public controlled entity.
Yeah, you should still be able to apply for a permit, and check with DEP, and through codes here and then.
Yeah, the thing is,
It
it
does
does
more.
make, it makes your land less valuable.
Okay, any other questions on that? So, some of the elements that we, and the town are putting forth, would be public engagement components. So tonight's meeting, obviously, is at the top. This will probably be the only public meeting at this point in time. If others are warranted, I'm more than happy to come up. I've already spoken about the town-wide mailings. Again, there will be two. There'll be one initial that says, hey, this is where we're gonna be, this is where we're planning on being, and then when you get the, before the hearings, here's your valuation. I believe that you're gonna put ads in the local paper. I brought up a proposal with that from KRT. Like I told Danielle, she can cut and paste out of there, 'cause I know it'll probably cost per word, so put whatever you need to, but there's an idea what needs to be put in. Also on the dedicated project page on the website, I'm not sure if you guys know if you're doing anything on the town website, or is it just gonna link down to us? Yeah, okay, so you should have information on the town website and definitely down on ours, and I'll show you what ours looks like. And I believe Danielle had said something about Facebook, social media posts. So as far as the financing for the reval, the town has a special revaluation fund. Has appropriated $5,000 per year for several years in anticipation of a revaluation. I spoke with Deb last week, I believe it was, and the fund balance currently sits at $82,210. The revaluation project completion scheduled to be July 2020, of a total cost to the town of Baldwin no higher than $81,000. That's the end of what I have. Do you have any other questions, or?
Provided that rusty old water tank.
Alright, so let me,
I think it's a liability.
it's a landmark for me. Okay, so. Yeah, right here, okay. So when you go to Cumberland County or type in Baldwin assessors, it comes up with, send you to our site. So this is what we have in there right now. So, under, alright, so, over here on the side, I have 2020 reval. You click on that, brings you over to this page. I don't know why that big picture is in there, but. So basically, go through, the town of Baldwin is scheduled to complete a revaluation program for the 2020 tax year. Typically, every 10 years, municipalities reestablish assessed values throughout the town. This is to bring assessments to fair market value within the standards defined by state law. All real property in the town of Baldwin will be revalued as to its status on April 1st, 2020 for bills issued in July 2020. The last reval was completed for 2010. To accurately reflect changes in the market in Baldwin, each property will be inspected and reappraised starting in September 2019. This is to ensure the town's tax burden is fairly distributed across all property owners. KRT is the appraisal company hired by Cumberland County Regional Assessing to complete the revaluation program. Representatives from their firm will be inspecting properties and analyzing market data. After new values are established, taxpayers will have the opportunity to meet with KRT staff before bills are sent. KRT will be working on this process with the assessors and Cumberland County Regional Assessing to ensure a fair and timely result. You can find their website and photos of each appraiser here, so when you click on that, it should jump you right straight to their page. Scroll down through, you should see everybody that they have on the payroll right now. We're still in discussions with them. I'm not letting the leash go on them until we're finally committed here for this year. I don't want anybody playing in the database until we're done with our commitment for this year. But they're ready to go. So as soon as I get that commitment done, they've got their logins, they're gonna start printing cards, they're gonna start concocting a letter, but they haven't had a chance to get in there to see how many cards are on, map one, what's our plan of action, but it won't take them long to figure that out. As soon as we got that, we're gonna put that information in, your revaluation information and inspection schedule, so we'll update that. Depending on how large it is, we may update it periodically, or just one blurb. A little blurb about the public informational meeting, and we put a video up here of tonight's presentation, so anybody else can look at it as well. And that's pretty much all I have. Anything else? Yeah.
I think the average person, most of us come to every meeting and probably know more than the average bear. I think the average person looks at evaluation, says my house is gonna be worth more, therefore I'm gonna pay more taxes. And so you really have to pound and pound and pound and, you know, we used to hear the third would say the same, the third would bump, the third would go down, but something that says, and I just, it scares me what I knew my house was worth 5 years ago and what it's worth now.
Yeah.
I'm also smart enough to know the tax rate may be half of what it is at this point, so, but I don't think the average bear understands that.
Right. Yeah, we're trying to reach out as much as we can to the
Sure.
website, yep, absolutely, yep. And again, if anybody has any direct questions, they can call straight down to us, down to our office, anytime.
So if after you've evaluated and somebody has a disagreement and they wanna meet with you, do they come down to your office?
No, representatives from KRT will actually be here, I believe, probably in this room, my guess is. And so, yeah, you just set up an appointment with them and they'll actually.
So you just put everybody together at that point in time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on how many there is, KRT actually did the reval for Cumberland County and Yarmouth in 2016. I think it was that one. I wasn't with Cumberland County at the time, but I think it was that one that they had lined up the doors. And so they had a table set up, next, so they were putting them through, yeah.
Wow.
Will people be able to look, for instance, at their neighbor's reval to get an idea that the comparability is somewhere in the ballpark?
Once committed, I mean, it's all public information on the commitment book, so absolutely.
But during the.
And you can always call up.
During the revaluation process, before commitment, I would.
Nothing's final till commitment, so we don't usually release those numbers, because, they're not out there to the public yet. 'Cause it's still work in progress.
I understand, but,
Yeah.
Again, during the process.
Yep.
I think I would certainly feel more comfortable if I could look, up and down my road and say, well, yeah, this guy's house is a hell of a lot better than mine, but boy, that place is a dump, and I'm getting.
Typically during the process, I'm gonna probably say no, but again, if you do see that after the commitment, 'cause that's when the information will be available, you got 185 days to file for an abatement. We feel that's wrong. Gentlemen, have any questions?
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much, yes. I'll give you plenty of time. All set? Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody.